someone who has adventures and dreams.
My friends, we put together an amazing crew, made it to the Grand Line.
Can we trust them?
To what you want to know. We will never find one piece.
They're crazy powerful.
Welcome back to Sign Peak, your destination for deep dives into the biggest movies and television series from around the world. In today's video, we're setting sail once again into the extraordinary world of One Piece Season 2, the highly anticipated continuation of Netflix's live-action adaptation of one of the most beloved manga and anime franchises ever created. After the tremendous success of Season 1, which introduced audiences to Monkey D. Luffy and his growing crew of Straw Hat Pirates, Season 2 promises to expand the adventure on a much larger scale, bringing viewers deeper into the Grand Line and introducing new allies, dangerous enemies, mysterious islands, and even greater challenges that will test the crew like never before. Season 1 laid the foundation for this epic journey by following Luffy's dream of becoming the king of the pirates. Along the way, he assembled an unforgettable crew that included the skilled swordsman Roronoa Zoro, the clever navigator Nami, the sharpshooter Usopp, and the talented chef Sanji. Together, they faced truthless pirates, powerful marines, and personal struggles while forging bonds of friendship and loyalty that became the heart of the story. By the end of the season, the Straw Hat Pirates had overcome enormous obstacles, defeated formidable opponents, and finally set their sights on the legendary Grand Linia, the most dangerous and mysterious sea in the world, where the greatest adventures and deadliest threats await. Now, One Piece Season 2 takes that promise to the next level. As the Straw Hats venture into uncharted waters, they encounter increasingly powerful enemies, complex political forces, and secrets that begin to reveal the true scale of the world around them. The new season expands the mythology of the series, introducing iconic characters, emotional backstories, and larger conflicts that have made One Piece a global phenomenon for decades. Beyond the thrilling action and breathtaking adventures, the story continues to explore themes of friendship, freedom, courage, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of dreams, all of which have become defining elements of the franchise. What makes One Piece stand out from other adventure series is its remarkable ability to combine heartfelt emotional storytelling with epic action, imaginative world building, and unforgettable characters. Every island feels like a new world, every challenge pushes the crew closer together, and every victory brings them one step closer to discovering the legendary treasure known as the One Piece. With bigger stakes, richer storytelling, enhanced visual effects, and a growing cast of fascinating characters, Season 2 aims to build upon everything that made the first season such a success while delivering an even more ambitious and exciting chapter of this legendary saga. In this video, we'll break down the story, analyze the major characters, explore the new developments, discuss the performances, and examine what makes One Piece Season 2 one of the most eagerly awaited television events for fans around the world. Whether you're a longtime follower of the franchise or someone who discovered the series through Netflix's live-action adaptation, there's a lot to uncover in this next chapter of the Straw Hat's journey. So grab your straw hat, prepare to set sail across the Grand Line, and join us as we explore everything you need to know about One Piece Season 2. This is Sign Peak, and the adventure begins right now. The second season of the live-action fantasy adventure television series One Piece, officially marketed under the title One Piece, Into the Grand Line, continues the epic adaptation of the globally acclaimed manga created by Eiichiro Oda, developed for television by Matt Owens and Steven Maeda. The season was produced through a collaboration between Kaji Productions and Shueisha, bringing to life one of the most beloved story arcs from the original manga. Building upon the foundation established in the first season, the story expands its scope dramatically as the Straw Hat Pirates venture beyond the East Blue and enter the legendary Grand Line, a dangerous and unpredictable sea known for its powerful pirates, mysterious islands, extreme weather conditions, and hidden treasures. The season stars Iñaki Godoy plus Iñaki Godoy as the optimistic and fearless Monkey D. Luffy, alongside Emily Rudd as Nami, Mackenyu as Zoro, Jacob Romero Gibson as Usopp, and Taz Skylar as Sanji. Joining the cast are Charitha Chandran and Michaela Hoover, who help introduce a new wave of memorable characters from the Grand Line saga. As Luffy and his crew continue pursuing their dreams and searching for the legendary treasure known as the One Piece, they find themselves targeted by Baroque Works, a secretive and highly dangerous criminal organization composed of elite assassins, spies, and powerful operatives. The conflict with Baroque Works forces the Straw Hats into increasingly perilous battles and challenges, testing their strength, loyalty, and determination as they navigate unfamiliar territories and encounter formidable new enemies. Featuring larger-scale action sequences, deeper character development, richer world building, and the introduction of many fan-favorite locations and storylines from the manga, One Piece, Into the Grand Line significantly expands the scope of the live-action adaptation. The season premiered globally on the streaming platform Netflix on March 10, 2026. Continuing the adventurous journey of the Straw Hat Pirates and further exploring the vast, imaginative world that has captivated millions of fans around the world. Episode 1. At the beginning and the end. The season opens with a powerful flashback to the final moments before the execution of the legendary Pirate King, Gul D. Roger, in his hometown of Logtown. Knowing that his death is imminent, Roger privately reveals to Vice Admiral Garp that he has a son and entrusts him with the responsibility of protecting and raising the child. In the present day, the influence of the mysterious criminal organization Baroque Works begins to spread across the seas as its agents, Miss All Sunday, Mr. Five, and Ms. Valentine, brutally slaughter a group of Marines stationed in Shell's Town while searching for Orono Zoro, who recently killed the organization's former agent, Mr. Seven. Meanwhile, the Straw Hat Pirates arrive in Logtown, the city where Roger's journey ended, to gather supplies before entering the Grand Line. During their stay, Zoro encounters Tashigai, an honest and skilled Marine officer who bears a striking resemblance to his late childhood friend Kuina. While browsing a sword shop, Zoro tests his fate by choosing a supposedly cursed blade and survives unharmed, earning the admiration of the shopkeeper, who rewards him with 2 exceptional swords. Elsewhere, an excited Monkey D. Luffy visits Roger's execution platform to experience the place where the Pirate King made history. However, his visit is interrupted when Buggy the Clown and Alvida capture him and attempt to publicly execute him. As a massive crowd gathers, Luffy astonishingly laughs in the face of death, mirroring Roger's final moments. Just as Buggy is about to strike, a powerful bolt of lightning crashes down, destroying the execution platform and allowing Luffy to escape. Witnessing the event, Marine Captain Smoker becomes convinced that Luffy represents a dangerous new era of piracy and pursues him relentlessly. However, Smoker's efforts are unexpectedly halted by the mysterious revolutionary leader Dragon, who enables Luffy and his crew to escape. The episode concludes as the Straw Hats reach Reverse Mountain, the only gateway into the legendary Grand Line. Episode 2. A good whale hunting. The Straw Hats begin the dangerous task of navigating the Going Merry up the impossible slopes of Reverse Mountain, a giant river that flows uphill toward the Grand Line. Their arrival is immediately met with disaster when they encounter Laboon, a colossal whale that repeatedly crashes its head against the mountain. The giant creature accidentally swallows the Going Merry and most of the crew, separating Luffy from his friends. Inside Laboon, Luffy meets Crocus, an eccentric lighthouse keeper who has spent decades caring for the lonely whale. Crocus reveals Laboon's tragic past, explaining that 50 years earlier the whale was left behind by the Rumbar pirates, a cheerful musical crew from the West Blue who promised they would someday return. Since then, Laboon has faithfully waited for them, endlessly striking Reverse Mountain in frustration and sorrow. At Marine headquarters, Garp orders Smoker to enter the Grand Line and capture a Baroque Works agent alive in hopes of uncovering the identity of the mysterious leader known only as Mr. Zero. Tashigai joins Smoker after being encouraged by Kobe to remain true to her personal sense of justice. Back inside Laboon, the Straw Hats capture two suspicious travelers, Mr. Nine and Miss Wednesday, who are secretly agents of Baroque Works. After helping everyone escape from the whale, Luffy forms an emotional bond with Laboon and promises to return one day. Before leaving, he paints his pirate flag on Laboon's head as a symbol of their friendship and future reunion. Crocus then gives Nami a log pose, the only navigational device capable of guiding travelers through the unpredictable Grand Line. Watching the Straw Hats sail away, Crocus reflects on Roger's dream and quietly wonders whether Luffy might one day become the man who reaches Laugh Tale and discovers the One Piece. Episode 3: A Whiskey Business. The Straw Hats arrive at Cactus Island and are warmly welcomed by the seemingly friendly citizens of Whiskey Peak, led by the town's mayor, Eiichiro. The residents throw a lavish celebration in honor of the pirate crew. While most of the Straw Hats enjoy the festivities, Nami and Zoro become suspicious of the town's unusual hospitality and eventually uncover the truth. Every resident is secretly a Baroque Works agent assigned to capture pirates entering the Grand Line. Once exposed, the town erupts into chaos as dozens of assassins attack. Demonstrating his incredible skill, Zoro single-handedly defeats nearly 100 Baroque Works agents. Meanwhile, Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine attempt to steal the Going Merry, but their plans are interrupted by the arrival of Mr. Five and Miss Valentine. The shocking truth is soon revealed. Miss Wednesday is actually Princess Nefertari Vivi of the Desert Kingdom of Alabasta, while Eiichiro serves as captain of her royal guard. Both have been secretly infiltrating Baroque Works to investigate the organization's involvement in a growing civil conflict threatening their homeland. When Mr. Five and Miss Valentine discover their identities, Eiichiro sacrifices himself to give Vivi a chance to escape, appearing to die in a devastating explosion caused by Mr. Five's bomb fruit powers. Miss Valentine coldly murders Mr. Nine after he refuses to betray Vivi. As the Straw Hats leave the island with Vivi, an even greater surprise awaits them when the mysterious Miss All-Sunday secretly boards the Going Merry. Episode 4: A Big Trouble in Little Garden. As the crew sails onward, Miss All-Sunday warns them that their next destination, Little Garden, is an ancient island filled with prehistoric dangers. Despite her warning and offer to redirect them elsewhere, Luffy eagerly chooses to continue forward. Upon arriving, the crew discovers a breathtaking land populated by dinosaurs, giant insects, and untouched wilderness. Zoro and Sanji immediately turn their attention to competing over who can hunt the largest dinosaur, continuing their endless rivalry. Meanwhile, Nami and Usopp encounter Brogy, a giant warrior from Elbaf whose courage and honor deeply inspire Usopp. Elsewhere, Luffy and Vivi meet Brogy's longtime rival and friend Dory. The two giant warriors reveal that they have been engaged in a century-long duel to settle a disagreement whose original cause has long been forgotten. At the same time, Baroque Works agents Mr. Five, Miss Valentine, Mr. Three, and Ms. Golden Week arrive on the island to eliminate Vivi and the Straw Hats. Mr. Three devises a cruel scheme by poisoning Brogy's drink before a duel, causing Dory to gain an unfair advantage and severely wound him. Using her hypnotic abilities, Ms. Golden Week manipulates Luffy, Nami, and Zoro, while Mr. Five captures Vivi. As the situation spirals out of control, Dory falls into despair over Brogy's apparent death and is trapped inside a massive wax sculpture created by Mr. Three's wax fruit powers. Episode 5: A Wax On, Wax Off. The struggle against Baroque Works intensifies as Mr. Three traps Vivi, Nami, and Zoro inside an enormous wax structure designed to slowly suffocate them. At the same time, Luffy becomes an unwilling prisoner of Miss Golden Week, who treats him like a toy rather than a threat. While searching for his missing crewmates, Sanji discovers Mr. 3's hideout and accidentally intercepts a call from Mr. Zero himself. Seizing the opportunity, Sanji deceives the criminal mastermind by posing as Mr. 3 and earns valuable information, including a log pose leading directly to Alabasta. He introduces himself during the conversation as the mysterious Mr. Prince, creating confusion within Baroque works. Elsewhere, Usopp discovers that Brogy is still alive and receives invaluable advice about courage and what it means to become a true warrior. Inspired by the giant's words, Usopp manages to free Luffy and help turn the tide of battle. Zoro defeats Mr. 5 in a fierce confrontation, while Nami and Vivi successfully neutralize Miss Valentine. Luffy eventually tracks down and defeats Mr. 3 after a prolonged battle through a forest filled with giant wax statues. Once the conflict ends, Dory and Brogy express their gratitude and promise Usopp that they will meet again in Elbaf someday. As the Straw Hats finally resume their voyage toward Alabasta, a new crisis emerges when Nami suddenly collapses from a severe illness. Episode 6 A Nami Drist. Several days later, Nami's worsening condition forces the Straw Hats to search desperately for medical assistance. Their journey leads them to Drum Kingdom, a snow-covered island kingdom suffering from the consequences of years of poor leadership. Through flashbacks, viewers learn about tensions between Alabasta's King Cobra and Drum Kingdom's King Wapol during a meeting of world rulers known as the Reverie. In the present, Wapol has abandoned his kingdom after an attack by the notorious pirate Blackbeard and has taken nearly all of the island's doctors with him, leaving the population vulnerable and desperate. The island is now being protected by Dalton, a former royal guard trying to rebuild society. Determined to save Nami, Luffy and Sanji carry her through a brutal blizzard and climb an enormous mountain to reach Dr. Kura, the only doctor remaining on the island. Exhausted, frozen, and injured, they eventually reach her castle with the help of Tony Chopper, a talking reindeer who gained human-like intelligence and abilities through a devil fruit. Under Kura and Chopper's care, Nami begins to recover while Luffy and Sanji receive treatment for their injuries. Elsewhere, Smoker and Tashigi investigate another Baroque Works massacre, leading to a violent confrontation that results in Smoker killing Miss Thursday and Tashigi capturing Mr. 11. Episode 7 A Reindeer Shames. As Nami recovers, Luffy becomes curious about a pirate flag displayed by Chopper, prompting Dr. Kura to recount the heartbreaking story of the young reindeer's past. Rejected by both humans and his own herd because of his unusual appearance and devil fruit powers, Chopper found acceptance from the eccentric Dr. Hiroyuki. Despite having no formal medical training, Hiroyuki dedicated his life to helping others and dreamed of curing every disease in the world. His symbol of hope was a Jolly Roger decorated with cherry blossoms, inspired by his belief that the beauty of life could heal even the deepest suffering. Hoping to save Hiroyuki from illness, Chopper searches tirelessly for a rare mushroom rumored to cure any disease. Tragically, he unknowingly brings back a poisonous mushroom that worsens Hiroyuki's condition. Nevertheless, Hiroyuki refuses to blame Chopper and continues to encourage him. When Hiroyuki learns that Wapol's doctors are supposedly ill, he rushes to help them only to discover that the situation was a trap designed to execute him. Surrounded by enemies and already dying, Hiroyuki delivers an unforgettable speech about the true meaning of death, declaring that a person dies only when their dreams are forgotten. He then sacrifices himself in a dramatic explosion, ensuring that his ideals will live on through Chopper. Meanwhile, Wapol returns to Drum Kingdom, determined to reclaim his throne. Episode 8 Hate, Dear and Loathing in Drum Kingdom. The season's first major story arc reaches its climax as Wapol launches an assault on Drum Kingdom using soldiers fused with weapons through the powers of his Munch Munch fruit. While Dalton, Zoro, and Usopp organize the citizens to defend their home, Vivi rushes to warn Luffy about Wapol's arrival. Wapol and his lieutenants pursue her to the castle, triggering a massive confrontation. Chopper and Sanji battle Wapol's subordinates, proving Chopper's courage and strength for the first time. Meanwhile, Luffy and Vivi confront Wapol directly. When Wapol attempts to destroy Hiroyuki's cherished Jolly Roger, Luffy intervenes and fiercely protects the symbol of the Doctor's dream. In the decisive moment, Luffy defeats Swapal by hurling him out of the castle, effectively ending his rule and freeing Drum Kingdom. Following the victory, Nami fully recovers, and Chopper accepts Luffy's invitation to join the Straw Hat Pirates as their doctor. To celebrate his departure, Kura and Dalton release a spectacular display of artificial cherry blossoms across the Snowy Kingdom, fulfilling Hiroyuki's dream and creating one of the most emotional moments of the season. As Chopper sails away with his new friends, Kuro remarks that Luffy possesses the same mysterious spirit carried by Gol D. Roger and those who bear the enigmatic Will of D. The Straw Hats then commit themselves to helping Vivi save Alabasta. While far away, the truth behind Baroque Works is finally revealed. Mr. Zero is none other than Sir Crocodile, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, who plans to seize control of Alabasta as part of his larger ambitions. His partner, Nico Robin, secretly pursues her own hidden agenda, setting the stage for even greater conflicts ahead. The second season of One Piece, Into the Grand Line, features a talented ensemble cast that brings the beloved characters of Eiichiro Oda's legendary manga to life with remarkable energy, emotional depth, and authenticity. Leading the series once again is Iñaki Godoy as Monkey D. Luffy, the cheerful, fearless, and endlessly optimistic captain of the Straw Hat Pirates. Driven by his dream of becoming the king of the pirates, Luffy continues his journey into the dangerous waters of the Grand Line while inspiring those around him through his unwavering determination, loyalty, and belief in freedom. Alongside him is Emily Rudd as Nami, the intelligent and resourceful navigator of the Straw Hat crew whose exceptional cartography skills and strategic thinking prove essential for surviving the unpredictable challenges of the Grand Line. Mackenyu returns as the legendary swordsman Roronoa Zoro, whose incredible combat abilities, stoic personality, and unshakable loyalty make him one of Luffy's most trusted companions. Jacob Romero Gibson portrays Usopp, the crew's sharpshooter and storyteller, whose humorous personality often hides his insecurities and fears as he strives to become a brave warrior of the sea. Completing the core crew is Taz Skylar as Sanji, the charismatic cook whose mastery of martial arts, unwavering chivalry, and fierce devotion to his friends continue to make him an indispensable member of the Straw Hat Pirates. Season 2 also introduces several major characters who play crucial roles in the unfolding Alabasta saga. Charithra Chandran joins the cast as Princess Nefertari Vivi, who initially operates undercover within the criminal organization Baroque Works under the alias Miss Wednesday. Vivi's courageous mission to uncover the truth behind the growing unrest in her homeland places her at the center of the season's primary storyline. Through her performance, Chandran captures both Vivi's royal dignity and her deep compassion for her people. Flashback sequences exploring Vivi's childhood feature Arup Shirgil as the young princess, providing greater insight into her upbringing and the responsibilities she carries as a future ruler. One of the most anticipated additions to the series is Tony Chopper, the lovable reindeer doctor whose voice and facial performance are provided by Michaela Hoover. Chopper's unique combination of innocence, intelligence, humor, and emotional vulnerability makes him one of the most beloved characters introduced during the season, while his tragic backstory and dream of becoming a great doctor add considerable emotional weight to the narrative. Among the recurring cast members, Callum Kerr portrays Marine Captain Smoker, a relentless and principled officer determined to capture pirates while remaining committed to his own sense of justice. Smoker's pursuit of Luffy continues throughout the season, making him one of the Straw Hat's most persistent adversaries. Julia Raywald appears as Tashigai, Smoker's dedicated second-in-command, whose strong moral compass and passion for swordsmanship frequently influence her decisions. Lara Abava portrays Nico Robin, also known as Miss All Sunday, the enigmatic and highly intelligent second-in-command of Baroque Works. Robin's mysterious motives, calm demeanor, and hidden agenda make her one of the most intriguing figures introduced during the season, as her relationship with both the Straw Hats and Baroque Works becomes increasingly complex. The criminal organization Baroque Works is represented by a diverse collection of dangerous operatives. Daniel Lasker portrays Mr. Nine, an eccentric but ultimately loyal undercover agent whose alliance with Vivi reveals a more sympathetic side beneath his comedic exterior. Yonda Thomas plays Eiichiro, also known as Mr. 8, Vivi's devoted protector and captain of Alabasta's royal guard, whose willingness to sacrifice himself demonstrates his unwavering loyalty to the princess and her kingdom. Camrus Johnson appears as Mr. 5, a ruthless assassin empowered by the bomb fruit, allowing him to transform parts of his body into explosive weapons. Jazara Jaslyn portrays Miss Valentine, whose Kilo fruit grants her the ability to alter her body weight, making her a formidable and unpredictable opponent. David Dastmalchian delivers a memorable performance as Mr. 3, a cunning strategist whose wax fruit enables him to create elaborate wax structures and deadly traps. Sophia Ann Caruso portrays Miss Golden Week, Mr. 3's deceptively innocent-looking partner whose hypnotic abilities allow her to manipulate the emotions and actions of her targets with frightening effectiveness. The season also introduces several iconic figures from the Little Garden storyline. Brendan Murray portrays Brogy, one of the legendary giant warriors from Elbaf whose honor, courage, and friendship become a major source of inspiration for Usopp. Alongside him is Warren Arkowitzer as Dory, Brogy's longtime rival and fellow giant warrior. Their century-long duel serves as one of the season's most memorable and emotionally resonant storylines, highlighting themes of honor, friendship, and perseverance. The Drum Kingdom arc brings another collection of important characters to the series. Rob Coletti portrays the selfish and tyrannical former King Wapol, whose greed and incompetence have left his kingdom in ruins. Mark Penwill appears as Chess, one of Wapol's loyal but dangerous subordinates, while Anton David Jephthah portrays KM, another member of Wapol's inner circle who assists in enforcing the former king's rule. Taichio plays Dalton, a respected former royal guard whose courage and leadership help unite the people of Drum Kingdom during their time of crisis. Academy Award-nominated television veteran Katie Sagal portrays the brilliant and eccentric Dr. Kura, a legendary physician whose sharp wit, vast medical knowledge, and unconventional methods make her one of the season's standout characters. Completing the Drum Kingdom storyline is Mark Herlick as Dr. Hiroyuki, the compassionate doctor whose dream of healing every illness leaves a lasting impact on Chopper and provides one of the most emotional and inspirational character arcs of the season. Through his teachings, sacrifices, and unwavering belief and hope, Hiroyuki's legacy becomes one of the defining emotional foundations of Chopper's journey and one of the most memorable elements of the season as a whole. The development of One Piece Season 2 began shortly after the overwhelming global success of the first season, which proved that Eiichiro Oda's beloved manga could be successfully adapted into a live-action format while maintaining the spirit, adventure, and emotional depth of the original source material. Behind the scenes, the creative team moved quickly to begin planning the next chapter of the Straw Hat Pirates' journey, demonstrating confidence in the long-term future of the series. On September 7, 2023, just days before Netflix officially announced the renewal, Tomorrow Studios CEO Marty Adelstein revealed that the scripts for the second season had already been completed. However, despite the significant progress in pre-production, the project faced an unavoidable delay due to the ongoing SAG-AFTRA strike, which had temporarily halted many film and television productions throughout the entertainment industry. Adelstein explained that while the writing process had been successfully completed, filming could not begin until the labor dispute was resolved and actors were permitted to return to work. At the same time, Tomorrow Studios president Becky Clements expressed optimism about the production schedule and the future of the franchise. She noted that once filming was allowed to proceed, the production team expected the second season to premiere approximately 12 to 18 months later. Her comments reflected the extensive planning already underway between the show's producers and its various creative partners. Although fans were eagerly anticipating confirmation of a continuation, Netflix did not officially announce the renewal of One Piece for a second season until September 14, 2023. The announcement generated enormous excitement among viewers worldwide, particularly after the first season became one of Netflix's most successful live-action adaptations and attracted praise from both longtime manga readers and newcomers alike. As development continued, Clements revealed that the production team had engaged in detailed and comprehensive discussions regarding the direction of the second season with Netflix, Shueisha, and series creator Eiichiro Oda. These conversations focused on how best to adapt the Grand Line saga while preserving the tone, characters, and major story arcs that made the manga and anime so beloved. Beyond the immediate plans for Season 2, the producers also began exploring the long-term future of the live-action adaptation. According to Clements, preliminary discussions had already taken place regarding potential third, fourth, fifth, and sixth seasons, highlighting the ambitious scope of the project and the confidence that all parties had in the series' longevity. Adelstein and Clements further emphasized the enormous amount of source material available for adaptation. At the time, Oda's manga had surpassed 1,080 chapters and continued to expand, making it one of the longest-running and most successful manga series in history. The producers explained that even if the live-action series were to reach 6 seasons, it would likely cover only about half of the story that had already been published. Their comments underscored the extraordinary scale of One Piece and suggested that the creative team envisioned a multi-season narrative capable of spanning many years if audience interest and production circumstances allowed. This long-term planning demonstrated a commitment not only to adapting the most popular story arcs but also to building a television franchise that could faithfully follow the expansive journey of Monkey D. Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates far into the future. A significant creative development occurred on April 23, 2024, when Joe Trach officially joined the production team for the second season. Trach was brought on board as a writer, executive producer, and co-showrunner, adding another experienced creative voice to the series' leadership. He partnered with returning co-showrunner Matt Owens, who had played a crucial role in shaping the first season and was widely praised for his understanding of Eiichiro Oda's world and characters. The addition of Trach strengthened the show's creative foundation and expanded the leadership team responsible for guiding the adaptation through its increasingly complex storylines. Together, Owens and Trach were tasked with overseeing the ambitious transition into the Grand Line saga, a portion of the One Piece story that introduces larger adventures, deeper world building, more powerful enemies, and some of the franchise's most iconic characters and locations. Their collaboration marked an important step in ensuring that the second season would continue the momentum established by its predecessor while expanding the scope and scale of the live-action adaptation. The casting process for One Piece, Into the Grand Line played a crucial role in expanding the live-action adaptation's growing world while maintaining continuity with the characters and performances that helped make the first season a global success. Returning to lead the series are the core members of the Straw Hat Pirates, with Iñaki Godoy reprising his role as the enthusiastic and determined Monkey D. Luffy, Emily Rudd returning as the intelligent navigator Nami, Mackenyu once again portraying the master swordsman Roronoa Zoro, Jacob Romero Gibson returning as the aspiring brave warrior Usopp, and Taz Skylar reprising his role as the charismatic cook and fighter Sanji. Their performances in the first season were widely praised for capturing the personalities, chemistry, and emotional depth of Eiichiro Oda's beloved characters, making their return one of the most anticipated aspects of the second season. In addition to the returning main cast, several fan-favorite characters from the first season also make appearances throughout the new episodes. Vincent Regan returns as the legendary Marine Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp, whose complicated relationship with Luffy continues to influence the story. Jeff Ward reprises his role as the unpredictable pirate Buggy the Clown, whose popularity among viewers turned him into one of the breakout characters of the live-action adaptation. Morgan Davis returns as the ambitious young Marine Kobe, whose journey toward becoming a respected officer continues alongside his mentor figures. Ilias Aurela 1/2 Paulino once again portrays the pirate Captain Alvida, while Stephen John Ward returns as the fearsome swordsman Dracula Mihawk, one of the most powerful and respected warriors in the world of One Piece. Their appearances help strengthen the continuity between the first and second seasons while reminding audiences of the larger world that exists beyond the Straw Hat's immediate adventures. One of the earliest and most exciting casting-related teases for the second season came on September 14, 2023, when series creator Eiichiro Oda appeared in a special video celebrating the show's official renewal. During the announcement, Oda surprised fans by teasing the arrival of Tony Chopper, one of the most beloved characters in the entire franchise. The brief tease immediately sparked widespread speculation regarding how the production team would bring the fan-favorite reindeer doctor to life in a live-action format. Several months later, on May 6, 2024, another promotional video was released through the series' official social media channels. In the video, Iñaki Godoy celebrated Monkey D. Luffy's birthday before the clip concluded with a surprise tease hinting at the appearance of Mr. 3, further building anticipation for the adaptation of the Little Garden storyline. As production preparations accelerated, casting calls were issued for numerous major characters from the Grand Line saga. Among the roles being sought were Miss Wednesday, Miss All Sunday, Crocus, Mr. 5, Miss Valentine, Smoker, Dashi Guy, and Ms. Golden Week. These announcements signaled that the live-action adaptation intended to faithfully adapt several of the manga's most iconic story arcs, including Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, Drum Island, and the beginning of the Alabasta storyline. Fans closely followed each casting announcement as Netflix gradually revealed the actors chosen to portray these highly anticipated characters. The first major wave of casting announcements arrived on June 25, 2024. Daniel Lasker joined the series as Mr. 9, the eccentric Baroque Works agent who becomes connected to Princess Vivi's undercover mission. Camrus Johnson was cast as the explosive assassin Mr. 5, while Jazara Jaslin was selected to portray his dangerous partner Miss Valentine. Acclaimed character actor David Dastmalchian was announced as Mr. 3, one of Baroque Works' most memorable operatives whose wax fruit powers make him a formidable enemy for the Straw Hats. Dastmalchian's casting generated particular excitement among fans due to his reputation for portraying eccentric and complex characters across numerous film and television projects. The following day, June 26, 2024, Netflix announced several major additions connected to the Reverse Mountain and Little Garden storylines. Veteran actor Clive Russell was cast as Crocus, the eccentric lighthouse keeper who watches over Laboon and serves as one of the Straw Hats' first guides into the Grand Line. Brendan Murray was selected to portray Brogy, while Werner Coetzer was cast as Dory. These two legendary giant warriors are central figures in the Little Garden arc, and their century-long duo represents one of the most memorable stories from the early Grand Line adventures. On June 27, 2024, another group of significant casting announcements followed. Callum Kerr was revealed as Smoker, the relentless marine captain who becomes one of Luffy's most persistent pursuers throughout the Grand Line. Julia Raywold joined the cast as Tashi Guy, Smoker's loyal subordinate and a gifted swordswoman whose resemblance to Zoro's childhood friend creates an intriguing dynamic between the characters. Rob Coletti was cast as the self-centered former King Wapol, while Taichio joined the production as Dalton, the courageous protector of Drum Kingdom whose leadership becomes vital during the island's darkest period. One of the most discussed casting stories involved the role of Dr. Kira. As early as 2022, acclaimed actress Jamie Lee Curtis publicly expressed her enthusiasm for portraying the eccentric and legendary Doctor in the live-action adaptation. Because Curtis is a longtime fan of One Piece, many viewers hoped she would eventually join the series. However, on July 19, 2024, Tomorrow Studios president Becky Clements confirmed that although Curtis had been approached regarding the role, scheduling conflicts ultimately prevented her participation. During the same announcement, Clements also revealed that principal photography for the second season was expected to conclude in December 2024, indicating that production was progressing steadily. The Drum Kingdom storyline received additional casting announcements on August 21, 2024, when Katie Sagal was officially revealed as Dr. Kira. Known for her commanding screen presence and decades of television experience, Sagal was considered an excellent fit for the sharp-tongued but compassionate physician. Alongside her, Mark Herlick was cast as Dr. Hiroyuki, the eccentric doctor whose tragic story becomes one of the emotional highlights of the Drum Island arc. The following day, August 22, Actor Sendil Ramamurthy joined the cast as King Nefertari Cobra, the ruler of Alabasta and father of Princess Vivi. On August 23, Charithra Chandran was officially announced as Nefertari Vivi, also known under her Burrow Quirks alias Miss Wednesday. Chandran's casting was particularly significant because Vivi serves as one of the central characters throughout the season and plays a key role in the larger Alabasta storyline. The cast continued to expand on September 19, 2024, when Joe Manganiello was announced as the infamous Sir Crocodile, also known as Mr. Zero, the secret leader of Burrow Quirks and one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Joining him was Lara Abava as Nico Robin, known initially as Miss All Sunday. These two characters represent some of the most important additions to the live-action series, as their actions drive much of the conflict surrounding the Alabasta saga and significantly impact the Straw Hats' future adventures. As production entered 2025, additional supporting roles were revealed. On January 12, 2025, Sophia Ann Caruso was announced as Miss Golden Week, the mysterious Burrow Quirks operative with hypnotic abilities. Mark Penwill joined the cast as Chess, one of Wapol's loyal followers, while Anton David Jefftho was cast as KM, another key member of Drum Kingdom's supporting cast. The following day brought more casting news as Rigo Sanchez was announced as the revolutionary leader Dragon, Yonda Thomas was cast as Igaram, Princess Vivi's loyal protector and captain of the Alabasta Royal Guard, and James Hiroyuki Liao joined the series as Ippon Mitsu, the sword shop owner who plays an important role during the Logetown storyline. One of the most anticipated announcements of the entire production arrived on May 31, 2025, during Netflix's Tudum event. After nearly 2 years of fan speculation regarding how Tony Chopper would be adapted for live action, it was officially revealed that Michaela Hoover would provide the character's voice and facial performance capture. The announcement generated tremendous excitement among fans worldwide, as Chopper is widely regarded as one of the most beloved characters in the One Piece franchise. Bringing such an iconic character to life represented one of the season's greatest creative challenges, and Hoover's involvement marked the culmination of months of anticipation surrounding the future Doctor of the Straw Hat Pirates. Collectively, the extensive casting process demonstrated Netflix's commitment to faithfully adapting the expansive world of One Piece while assembling a diverse and talented ensemble capable of bringing its iconic characters to life for a global audience. One Piece, Into the Grand Line received widespread critical acclaim upon its release, further solidifying the live-action adaptation as one of the most successful and well-received anime-to-live-action projects ever produced. Critics praised the second season for successfully building upon the strengths of its predecessor while expanding the scale, ambition, and emotional depth of the story. Many reviewers highlighted the season's ability to faithfully adapt some of the most beloved story arcs from Eiichiro Oda's manga while maintaining a balance between action, humor, adventure, and character-driven storytelling. The introduction of iconic locations such as Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, and Drum Kingdom, along with the arrival of fan-favorite characters including Princess Vivi, Tony Chopper, Nico Robin, and Sir Crocodile, was widely celebrated by both longtime fans and newcomers. Reviewers also commended the series for its impressive visual effects, detailed world building, strong production values, and the continued chemistry among the cast members portraying the Straw Hat Pirates. On the review aggregation website Rotten Tomatoes, the second season achieved a remarkable 100% approval rating based on 29 published critic reviews, indicating unanimous positive reception among participating reviewers. The site's critical consensus praised the season for successfully raising the stakes of the story while significantly expanding the scope of the world and its adventures. According to the consensus, the series manages to deliver larger-scale storytelling, greater emotional investment, and more ambitious action sequences without losing the charm and authenticity that made the first season successful. Critics noted that despite the enormous challenge of adapting one of the most beloved manga series in history, the production continued to demonstrate an impressive understanding of the source material, resulting in what many considered one of the closest examples of a live-action adaptation capturing the spirit and essence of its original work. The season also received strong reviews from critics tracked by Metacritic, which assigns weighted average scores based on professional reviews from major publications. Based on 8 critic reviews, the second season earned a score of 80 out of 100, a rating categorized by the website as generally favorable reviews. This score reflected a broad consensus among critics that the series had successfully maintained its quality while embracing a more ambitious narrative structure. Many reviewers particularly praised the emotional storytelling surrounding Chopper's origin story, the introduction of the Alabasta conflict, the expanded role of Baroque works, and the performances delivered by both the returning and newly introduced cast members. The season's ability to balance faithful adaptation with the demands of live-action television was frequently cited as one of its greatest accomplishments. Overall, critics viewed the second season as a significant achievement for Netflix and the creative team behind the series. By successfully adapting a larger and more complex portion of the One Piece narrative while preserving the optimism, adventure, and emotional heart that define Eiichiro Oda's creation, the season further strengthened the franchise's reputation as a rare example of a live-action adaptation that satisfies both dedicated fans and general audiences. The overwhelmingly positive critical reception reinforced confidence in the long-term future of the series and increased anticipation for future seasons as the Straw Hat Pirates continue their journey deeper into the Grand Line. All 8 episodes of One Piece Season 2 premiere March 10th on Netflix. Let's get something out of the way first. There is no need to worry about Tony Chopper, because the beloved doctor of the Straw Hat Pirates is perfect. This was arguably the biggest challenge Netflix's live-action adaptation of Eiichiro Oda's manga masterpiece, One Piece, faced in its second season. The talking reindeer with medical skills is one of the main characters and featured prominently in the story, but a mutant talking reindeer that transforms into different human hybrid forms is not just an expensive work of VFX, but one that walks too fine a line between cartoony and real. Thankfully, this is not a Sonic the Hedgehog situation. Instead, Chopper is the standout of the season. Not only does the VFX work look fantastic, but the way Chopper moves, acts, and interacts with the world and other characters around him is fantastic and makes him look and feel like he is a living, breathing part of the show's world. He's just cartoony enough that you believe the looks of shock and wonder in Luffy, Iñaki Godoy, when he first encounters this strange creature, and as voiced by Michaela Hoover. Chopper is just the most adorable character of 2026 so far, and one that will rip your heart out and tear it apart. Chopper is not the only impressive bit of VFX wizardry in Season 2 of One Piece, which improves upon the first season and fixes its biggest issues. We are far removed from the monstrosity that was Arlong in Season 1, and instead we get a cavalcade of visually stunning creatures, characters, and locales. We meet giants, a giant whale, dinosaurs, and even an otter riding a vulture into battle, and they all look like they've been brought straight out of the pages of Oda's manga. Meanwhile, the costume and hair design for the more human characters finds the right balance of realism and cartoon. The world of One Piece is an incredibly cartoonish one, and Season 2 continues to thrive in that tone, balancing absurd comedy and lightheartedness with serious, and often quite bloody, action and heartbreaking drama. With most character introductions and flashbacks out of the way, Season 2 of One Piece is all about its world. We follow Luffy and the other Straw Hats as they finally enter the Grand Line and immediately get embroiled in a conflict with the vast and nefarious criminal syndicate, Baroque Works. This season, the different towns and islands we encounter feel more developed. An early standout is Logtown, which is filled with little details about history and culture that makes the world of One Piece feel truly lived in. Without more flashbacks to flesh out the core characters, One Piece risked becoming a bit stagnant this season. Though the manga and anime develop the characters over time, it can take several years for a character to go through any significant development, which would not really work on TV. The season fixes this by adding material that isn't strictly in the source material, but might as well be. For instance, Zoro, Mackenyu, spends a big chunk of the season struggling with almost being killed by Mihawk last season. having visions of the warlord of the sea and fighting to slowly regain his self-confidence. In fact, everyone in the crew gets a moment to shine this season, which helps make every character feel important and essential. Arguably the biggest creative choice the live-action One Piece makes is to tell the story in a more linear fashion than the manga or anime. This means featuring characters and events that aren't revealed until much later in the manga in a more chronologically correct order here. For example, the season starts with a fateful meeting between Goldie Roger, Michael Dorman, and Monkey D. Garp, Vincent Regan, right before the former king of the pirates' execution that we only learn about a couple hundred chapters later. This might anger some fans who consider this to be spoilers, as it does technically tell you things at the wrong time when compared to the source material. Arguably the biggest creative choice the live-action One Piece makes is to tell the story in a more linear fashion than the manga or anime. And yet, it is these moments that make the One Piece live-action show shine as an adaptation. It serves a practical purpose. Of course it's quite unlikely that Netflix will get to cover the entirety of Oda's manga, considering the gargantuan, decades-long endeavor that would require. So for longtime fans, the show is giving them the chance to see events or characters that they might otherwise never get to see in live action, like Bartolomeo being in Logtown and seeing the Straw Hats for the first time. Most importantly, however, it fleshes out the world of One Piece, giving the audience hints of other characters and the lives and stories that are unfolding alongside our main pirate crew. They might intersect later, but for now, it's just a small way of making the world of One Piece feel much, much bigger than just our small band of pirates going from island to island. It also makes the experience of watching this show unique and new no matter what your level of familiarity with the source material may be. Who knows how long One Piece can realistically run? If Season 2 is proof of anything, it's that Oda's world can be captured in live action, and TV is better for it. One Piece Season 2 is nothing short of a miracle. It captures the incredibly absurd and cartoony world of Eiichiro Oda's manga while not losing any of that sense of fun as it becomes a live-action series. With grand production design, exquisite costuming, and stunning VFX work, and the most adorable reindeer doctor, this is a grand adventure worth embarking on. Some choices may be controversial for manga purists, but it makes the show a unique and fresh viewing experience no matter what your familiarity with the source material may be. Two critics say it remains the high-water mark for live-action anime adaptations thanks to its charismatic cast, eye-popping action, unabashed wackiness, and love for the source material. When Netflix announced it was adapting the long-running Japanese manga and anime series One Piece into a live-action series, fans were understandably a bit wary but hopeful nonetheless. Thankfully, with original manga author Eiichiro Oda on board as a consultant, the end result was a widely embraced success, with Season 1 earning a certified fresh tomatometer score of 86% and a popcornmeter score of 95%. Naturally, fans couldn't wait for the second season. Well, One Piece, Season 2, aka Into the Grand Line, is almost upon us, and the first reviews for it are even more effusive with praise than they were for Season 1, with critics calling it an effective expansion of the story's world, populated by fun characters and infused with an infectious energy. Here's what critics are saying about One Piece, Season 2, we're pleased to say it is bigger, better, and more ambitious in almost every way than its freshman voyage. Broken bar. The season is jam-packed with standout additions to the ever-expanding ensemble. Each of them adds to the fray without the show ever feeling like it's hitting capacity. Broken bar. One of the biggest jumps in the show's ambition this season is easily the special effects, both in volume and quality. Allison Mattingly, Nerdist. This second season takes everything that worked in the first and expands on that even further with bigger stakes, better connections between the characters, and bolder choices to differentiate itself from both the manga and anime releases. It's a swashbuckling adventure you won't want to miss. Nick Valdez, comicbook.com. One Piece, Into the Grand Line builds off the strong foundation its predecessor season laid, while continuing to address adaptation challenges. A broken bar. Instead of replicating the original serialization's lengthy pacing, One Piece Season 2 compresses some of its world building so audiences can understand the characters and looming conflicts more cohesively. A Broken Bar One Piece Season 2 is even bolder than its predecessor, raising the stakes with more ambitious action sequences and political intrigue, while staying true to the source material. A Lonshaw Campbell, but why though? A geek community. The show simply continues everything that worked about its debut to Broken Bar. Its cast and characters remain a massive selling point of Broken Bar. If I had one small gripe about One Piece Season 2 in comparison to its predecessor, it would be that the expanded scope and character roster mean the individual character arcs are not quite as tightly written. A Broken Bar. If there is any benefit to waiting 3 years for One Piece Season 2, it is the sheer scale of the show. A Louis Glazebrook, Screen Rant. All the cast now feel a lot more comfortable in their roles than last season. Godoy is just so great as Luffy. He brings all the exuberance, silliness, charm, and drive you want from Luffy. A Broken Bar. Everything is better this season, and Eiichiro Oda and all the cast and crew should feel great about their work. A Julian Lytle, Riotous. There's truly not one weak link in the One Piece cast, and it never ceases to amaze how the show managed to create such a faithful live-action version of such a fantastical world. The fight scenes are intense and kinetic, yet surprisingly easy to follow. A Broken Bar. It expands the world, introduces deliriously fun characters, features non-stop action, and delivers an adventure with plenty of heart and full of hope, which is what Luffy would want. More importantly, it maintains the spirit of Eiichiro Oda's masterpiece, letting its freak flag fly and flaunting its colors with pride. A David Caballero, Collider. One Piece hasn't lost a step in Season 2. On the contrary, it's better than ever, providing a rich bounty of imagination underpinned by earnest sentiment, great world building, and lovable characters. A Broken Bar. While this is a lot of characters, they're easy enough to keep track of thanks to their outlandish designs and strange powers, which One Piece Season 2 delights in showcasing at every opportunity. A Broken Bar. The best thing about One Piece remains the fact that it's boldly, unashamedly bizarre. A Jonathan Wilson, Ready Steady Cut. 2 seasons in, the chemistry, or nakana, is stronger than ever, not just between characters but between the actors too. Everyone feels even more confident in themselves this time around, more sure of who they are in the world they're building. A Broken Bar. Some minor flaws aside, it's hard to imagine a better version of One Piece in live action. This is the rare adaptation that justifies its existence beyond animation, thanks to an extraordinary devotion to the source material and the means to make it happen. A David Opie, Games Radar Plus. One Piece remains an imperfect, if entertaining, treat for those lacking the will or the time to dive into 30+ years of manga or anime. The show's episode count is already in the 4 figures. It does well in a pinch. A Broken Bar. It's goofy, knowingly strange, and wears its heart on its sentimental sleeve, and that's enough to put some wind in its sails. A Clint Worthington, RogerEbert.com. We finally get to watch the crew truly bond, and it's a joy to spend time with their distinct personalities. A Broken Bar. The stakes feel so much higher in Season 2, which is part of what makes it better than the first. A Broken Bar. This season introduces a host of new characters, yet the narrative never feels cluttered. A Broken Bar. It always looks amazing on screen. Props to the visual effects department. Truly. A Tessa Smith, Mama's Geeky. The strengths of Season 1 are 100 times stronger than they were 3 years ago. A Broken Bar. The big flowers will undoubtedly go to Miss All Sunday, Lara Abova, and Miss Wednesday, Charithra Chandran. A Broken Bar. Worthy of special praise is Sonia Belisova and Jayana Austin's score for One Piece Season 2. A Broken Bar. This adaptation remains the high bar for manga adaptation and an excellent entry point into this wonderful story. 8. Travis Hymas, In Between Drafts. Showrunners Matt Owens and Joseph E. Trotch demonstrate a continued understanding of this tale, and while small cuts here and there dampen a few subplots, the big moments come across with powerful sincerity. A Broken Bar. The setup stage is over and the mainline adventure has fully kicked into gear. A Broken Bar. It's a change that this adaptation generally handles well, settling into one-off escapades as the crew raises and lowers their anchor at a steady pace. A Broken Bar. This adaptation isn't without a few missteps, though. If there's a shortcoming in the show's design, It's that these fight sequences can't match the escalating intensity of the source material's battle shonen brawls. Elijah Gonzalez, Avenue Club. Is it realistic? Absolutely not. But this is One Piece, where the suspension of disbelief is about as big as a suspension bridge. It doesn't really matter a broken bar. There may not be 1,000 episodes in this show's future. It's still Netflix, after all. But this formula won't get old anytime soon. A.D.S. Johnston. In verse, while evidently faithful to the 100-volume manga series by Eiichiro Oda, there's something unbearably off about its look and feel. A broken bar. One Piece Season 2 is doubling down on the baffling style that made its first such a pain. For every step forward, it takes two back, with co-showrunners Matt Owens and Joe Trotch chasing one inspired choice with an equally ridiculous only a broken bar. But something bizarre happened about halfway through the season. I found myself getting on its wacky little wavelength anyway. A broken bar. It's a clumsy love letter to a tale that's captivated millions, and it's also undeniably infectious. A. Livy Scott, TV Guide. One Piece Season 2 premieres on Netflix on March 10, 2026. Find something fresh, discover what to watch, read reviews, leave ratings and build watch lists. Download the Rotten Tomatoes app. 3. One Piece Season 2 is absolutely one of Netflix's most highly anticipated releases of 2026. The streamer's trend of high-profile anime adaptation flops like Cowboy Bebop and Death Note came to a welcome end when One Piece became one of Netflix's biggest smashes in 2023. With critics and audiences lined up to praise and worship the colorful, high-energy series developed by Stephen Maeda and Matt Owens. The numbers were such that Netflix quickly greenlit 2 more seasons of high-seas pirate action and treasure-chasing intrigue, and then made fans wait 2.5 years to whet their appetites. But you can't rush prestige television, can you? And if the second season debut is any indication, it was likely worth the wait. Opening shot. Explosions at Shalestown, 153rd Marine Base fill the screen with smoke. Marines scramble amidst an attack. The gist, before we get to the reveal of 3 characters behind the attack on the Marines base. Although I don't think it's prudent to reveal those 3 characters, what with spoilers and all that, a quick recap might be necessary. Thankfully Netflix dropped a 2-minute catch-up to refresh our memories. The first season saw serial optimist, Luckhaver and Straw Hat Wearer Monkey D. Luffy, Iñaki Godoy, who has Stretch Armstrong superpowers, assemble a crew to fulfill his lifelong dream of finding the One Piece, the lost treasure hidden by the late former king of the pirates, Gold Roger. Michael Dorman plays him in flashbacks. His Straw Hat pirates consist of Swordmaster Extraordinaire Zoro, Mackenyu, Master Navigator Nami, Emily Rudd, Sharpshooter Usopp, Jacob Romero Gibson, and chef/martial artist Sanji, Taz Skylar. To be grossly reductionist, they got into a lot of scrapes. We learned that Marine honcho Monkey D. Garp, Vincent Regan, is Luffy's long-lost grandfather, and Luffy now has a bounty on his head valued at 30 million ducats or whatever currency they use in this show. The detail escapes me. So, the Straw Hats sail the seas in their trusty ship, going merry. Luffy is dead set on taking the Grand Line, the fabled route to the One Piece. But the others convince him to stop at Logtown so they can do some shopping and gear up, and so Luffy can spew his irrepressible joie de vivre all over the infamous location of Gold Roger's execution. This doesn't seem like a great idea, since Luffy's face is on wanted posters above the number 30 million, crowns, lira, bronze chariot wheels, which are pasted everywhere. It seems. We get a flashback to Gold Roger in prison, asking a big fat favor of Garp. Zoro acquires his second and third swords and meets Tashigai, Julia Rayhold, here dubbed Crazy Sword Girl. Some of the Straw Hats encounter a maybe ally/maybe foe in Bartolomeo, Nahum Hughes, Smoker, a Marine who sucks on 2 cigars at once and can control smoke like tentacles, pulls into Logtown looking for Luffy. And then Luffy is captured by Buggy the Clown, Jeff Ward, and Alvida, Ilyas Aurelius Paulino, who talk a lot, and then talk some more about how they'll kill Luffy and collect the reward. But, like, when are they gonna shut the hell up and just lop his head off? Because it gives the other Straw Hats time to rush to the scene and get in a big fight. That's why we're watching, right? Big fights? What shows will it remind you of? Here's a reminder that there's more than 1,000 episodes of the One Piece animated series on Netflix, along with a whole raft of animated feature-length movies. Here's a quick prayer for the completists out there. Our take: One Piece is well aware that its signature youthful exuberance and Looney Tunes slapstick action keep the ship afloat, so we get plenty of it. Colorful, memorable characters, even when they're a bit skinny. Dynamic punchy-kicky sword-clashy fights and enough visual extravagance to justify all the money Netflix has thrown at the series, reportedly plus or minus $20 million per episode. It's endearingly noisy and cheesy without being overwhelming like so much love it or leave it anime, and it's easy to understand its crossover appeal. The second season opener does a lot of work, delivering action-heavy set pieces. Big melees break up into a series of individual showdowns, reintroducing old villains, establishing new ones. Tashigi and Bartolomeo seem like they could go either way, even indulging a flashback. The episode is notably efficient in its plotting, although its pacing is saggy at times, especially when it shows its anime roots and allows its characters to make grand entrances, deliver long-winded intentions to fight, reveal their impressive weaponry and make one last warning before the fighting begins. It errs on the side of patience testing instead of suspense building. I yearn for a silent ambush or a villain who chooses to let his actions speak for them instead of speaking before leaping to action. 66 minutes seems a touch bloated. 50 might be just right. Performance worth watching. It's hard not to appreciate Godoy's glassy-eyed optimism and omnipresent goofy grin, key pieces of the glass-half-full unpoppable bubble that Luffy lives in. Sex and skin, nothing in the debut episode, but the TV-14 rating description says nudity, so brace yourselves for a butt sometime soon. Parting shot, the Straw Hats point the Going Merry toward Reverse Mountain, the uphill course leading to the Grand Line. Sleeper star, Nami is the most feet-on-the-ground member of the Straw Hats, and Ra therefore renders her the most emotionally accessible character. She's the quiet rock-solid foundation of a series that frequently threatens to go way off the rails into wackiness. Most pilot Twiline, I'm going to use Buggy's declaration that Luffy is Captain Shitacular as an opportunity to say that dialogue isn't One Piece's strong suit, but one line that underscores the silly core of the series. Luffy's declarative mantra, "Lucky me, our call." One Piece's storytelling compass remains pointed in the right direction. Stream it. For Netflix's live-action One Piece is back for Season 2, continuing every possible thing that worked about its predecessor. As someone who is only vaguely familiar with the world of One Piece thanks to the immense popularity of the long-running manga and its anime adaptation, Netflix's live-action One Piece was my entry point to the franchise. Almost immediately, I fell in love with One Piece Season 1 thanks to its unabashed goofiness, solid fight scenes, excellent cast, great characters, and the big, fat beating heart at its center. As far as I've been made aware, this all proved that Netflix's live-action anime adaptation captured the spirits of the original show and the manga on which both are based. While my eyes have been opened to the wonderful world of One Piece via Netflix's show, I have chosen the latter to be my full introduction, as I am yet to go back and read the manga or watch the anime. This gave me a sense of tunnel vision, of sorts, when watching all 8 episodes of One Piece Season 2. After doing so, I am only growing ever more excited for One Piece Season 3. As for Season 2 itself, though, I am now only more in love with the world of One Piece than I initially was, given that the show simply continues everything that worked about its debut. One Piece Season 2 fixes a common streaming problem despite everything that works about One Piece Season 2, and there is a lot. Perhaps the biggest praise I can give it is how it fixes an issue many have had with streaming shows of late. That issue is one that should arguably not be a talking point: TV shows having decently long runtimes. Each episode of One Piece edges ever so close to an hour long, with several going over the 60-minute mark. So many modern streaming shows are criticized for having 25-40-minute long episodes that feel rushed or underdeveloped. One Piece Season 2 does not have that issue at all, with each installment feeling like its own mini-movie. This alone reflects the sad state of shorter episodes that have become the norm in the 3 years since One Piece Season 1. The fact that 1-hour episodes, which used to be regular in the TV world, now feel akin to small movies proves how One Piece is taking us back to what TV used to be. One Piece's cast characters remain near perfect, moving more into One Piece's story than outside factors. The show's cast and characters remain a massive selling point. Every single cast member leans fully into One Piece's wacky world and their characters, making each one feel earnest. Whether it be action scenes, emotional moments, elements of levity, or the chemistry between them, all main cast members continue to prove they were excellently chosen. If I had one small gripe about One Piece Season 2 in comparison to its predecessor, it would be that the expanded scope and character roster mean the individual character arcs are not quite as tightly written. Season 1 introduced these characters, each of their dreams via specific episodes, and brought them together at the end. One Piece Season 2 doesn't have that introductory benefit, meaning the arcs are not quite as concise. Still, each character shines in the moments they are given. Moreover, One Piece Season 2's new characters are just as excellently written as the main Straw Hats were in Season 1. Miss Wednesday and Tony Chopper get engaging, emotionally resonant backstories that make them beloved new members of the crew almost instantly. Chopper's backstory in particular has an emotional core I didn't expect, thanks to two fun, well-realized characters of Drum Island. Another thing that benefits the known Straw Hats from Season 1 is seeing them at ease with one another. Several moments showcase their playful banter and the genuine emotional connections they have formed that were not as prevalent in Season 1. While One Piece Season 2's format means their arcs are not quite as much in focus, it means more time for showing them as a family. These moments are a joy to behold throughout, and there are still some arcs that really stand out. Zoro's continued quest to prove himself as a swordsman after his defeat by Mihawk is compelling, as is Luffy's connection to Gold Roger and the former's endless optimism that he will follow in the latter's footsteps. One Piece Season 2's scale is gigantic, often for the better if there is any benefit to waiting 3 years for One Piece Season 2. It is the sheer scale of the show. The epic landscapes of the Grand Line are realized beautifully, be it in gigantic practical sets for Logtown, Whiskey Peak, and Drum Island, or the huge CGI vistas of Reverse Mountain and Little Garden. The former 3 locations, thanks to their practicality, allow for some of One Piece Season 2's standout action scenes. The battles in Logtown reach the bar of the well-choreographed action in Season 1, with Whiskey Peak exceeding it. Zoro's fight against 100 Baroqueworks agents is outstanding from start to finish and the show's biggest action set piece yet. The other locations in One Piece Season 2 are just as big, but in a different way they better emulate the wonderful islands of the Grand Line, from mountains with rivers that flow upwards to islands filled with dinosaurs or giant warriors. Either way, One Piece Season 2 is massive in scale and, aside from a few noticeably weak CGI moments, often looks great enough to portray it. To sum up, One Piece Season 2 solidifies the show as one of the best on TV. It remains true that a lot of the elements it has simply should not work, be it the talking reindeer, the exploding bugger powers, giant hairstyles that sport machine guns, or any of the other aspects of the world that sound downright silly on paper. It is easy to see why One Piece's world works so well for sensationalized media like manga and anime. These elements should not work in live action, but One Piece's unabashed dedication to trying and the complete earnestness with which it depicts its source material make it hard to resist. The silly elements remain so for a split second before the show makes them work against all odds, and you're simply wrapped up in the wonder of it all. Some smaller elements I want to praise are the expanded devil fruit powers in Season 2. Oftentimes, these powers are either strange or, as alluded to with the bugger bombs, silly. In the final few episodes, though, One Piece leaned into the body horror elements of devil fruit powers that were genuinely effective. One Piece Season 2 also has some great antagonists. The various Baroqueworks agents were fun to behold, with each offering neat battles for the Straw Hats to overcome. Miss All Sunday was a particular highlight, with One Piece setting her and Mr. Zero up for much bigger roles going forward. The same can be said for characters like Dragon, all of which promise a big Season 3. With that installment filming right now, I hope it returns as soon as possible so that I can continue exploring this weird, wonderful world I've fallen in love with. That love was only solidified by One Piece Season 2, which I cannot recommend enough. 5 live-action adaptations of anime have a downright atrocious track record, so when Netflix announced it would be tackling One Piece, one of the most beloved anime manga around, there was a healthy dose of skepticism. How could the streamer possibly do such a lengthy and fantastical series justice? It certainly didn't help that it had butchered one of the medium's classics, Cowboy Bebop. But despite these poor odds, the adventures of Monkey D. Luffy made the jump to 3 dimensions with aplomb, capturing the spirit of its source material in each impassioned speech about impossible dreams and every phone call made using telekinetic snails. Then came a 2.5-year break, which took a bit of the wind out of its sails. Thankfully, the second season, titled Into the Grand Linnea, was worth the wait. Showrunners Matt Owens and Joseph E. Trotch demonstrate a continued understanding of this tale, and while small cuts here and there dampen a few subplots, the big moments come across with powerful sincerity. Get ready to cry over a bipedal reindeer in a top hat. As for where the latest stretch begins, after gathering his crew, Luffy, Iñaki plus Iñaki Godoy, and the Straw Hat Pirates set sail for the Grand Line. It's a dangerous series of islands where the One Piece is supposedly hidden. Pursuing this treasure is Luffy's life ambition, a goal that seems quixotic to everyone except him and his buddies. As they set off, they clash with Baroque Works, a secret organization of assassins, and become entangled in a political struggle that will decide the fate of an entire kingdom. Also, there is a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's all in a day's work for Luffy CO. If there's a big storytelling shift from last season, it's that the setup stage is over and the mainline adventure has fully kicked into gear. Now, this is obviously still the beginning in the grand scheme of this sprawling epica out of the manga's whopping 1,174 chapters and counting. The latest season spans from chapters 96 to 154A, but the process of exploring the Grand Line and island hopping toward their ultimate goal has begun. It's a change that this adaptation generally handles well, settling into one-off escapades as the crew raises and lowers their anchor at a steady pace. There are prehistoric islands and winter wonderlands, each tied together by a conspiratorial subplot involving Baroque Works. These many scenery changes capture a swashbuckling spirit while still giving the biggest and most important turning points enough room to breathe, like an excellent 3-episode finale arc that mixes tragedy and redemption. Many of the source material's fantastical sites continue to make the jump to live action surprisingly well, and at the core of this is a solid mixture of practical and digital effects. The series goes tactile at the right times, whether it is sizing up human actors to look like battle-hardened giants or concocting pig-faced monsters. Of course, given that the main character is a dude whose body is literally made out of rubber, there is plenty of CGI work as well, most of which is well placed. There will always be an inherent uncanniness to many of the devil fruit powers, such as when it comes to visualizing a beer keg-shaped bad guy who uses his giant cartoon mouth to munch on ship hulls. And there are points when some of these translated flourishes don't quite look right, but in general, the compositing work blends CGI and props into this world, one where iconoclastic costuming and colorful sets create an Age of Discovery hodgepodge. Well-cast performers bring us further into this buccaneering setting, starting with the Straw Hats, from Godoy's infectiously enthusiastic Luffy to Mackenyu's straight-man Zoro, especially when the gang is all together. This crew's screen chemistry is a delight. At the intersection of this season's impressive visual effects and performances is Michaela Hoover as newcomer Tony Chopper. For those unfamiliar, Chopper is a cute little 2-legged reindeer who wants to be a doctor, and he offers a big challenge for the show in that he's a major character that would be very difficult to render without CGI. Thankfully, he comes alive seamlessly. Part of this has to do with Hoover's voice performance, which gets at the character's insecurities and underlying charm. It also helps that the digital effects team sidestepped an ugly Sonic situation, splitting the difference between adorable and realistic, for this show. Anyway, this adaptation isn't without a few missteps, though. If there's a shortcoming in the show's design, It's that these fight sequences can't match the escalating intensity of the source material's battle shonen brawls. For what they are, these live-action scraps are generally well choreographed, especially the ones centered around Zoro and his more grounded swordsmanship. He still cuts down like 100 people in a few minutes. The bigger issue is that the manga's author, Eiichiro Oda, is better at using these showdowns to build and amplify struggles over ideals. This makes the season's middle section sag, especially during an extended duel with a candle wax-wielding foe, played with sicko relish by David Dastmalchian. More importantly, though, Owens, Droch, and the writers continue to capture the secret sauce of this work, one where literal cartoon characters are regularly granted unexpected depth, like when a scheming shop owner archetype suddenly drops their cynical Section 8 after a display of bravery, or a villain of the week turns out to be a key player with a life story of their own. Then a man with a ridiculous haircut forms a heartfelt bond with a blue-nosed reindeer while fighting for the belief that even the most rotten, broken societies can be saved from the chains of tyranny. That these more serious moments can sit next to Sueshin silliness without inducing total tonal whiplash is a major accomplishment. This adaptation continues to demonstrate why so many are willing to follow its central rubber-limbed weirdo across the 7 seasons and beyond. He believes in something, and that makes it easy for us to do the same. 6 After 2.5 years, Netflix's live-action adaptation of the beloved manga and anime One Piece is back for its much-awaited Season 2, subtitled Into the Grand Line, based on Eiichiro Oda's seminal manga, which itself spawned quite possibly the most iconic anime adaptation ever made. One Piece, Into the Grand Line follows the Straw Hat crew, led by Monkey D. Luffy, Iñaki plus Iñaki Godoy, as they venture along an ocean route that wraps around the planet and just so happens to be full of unpredictable dangers. The Straw Hats meet new friends and foes on their journey to find the One Piece, the legendary treasure of Gul D. Roger that will make whoever finds it king of the pirates. Season 1 of the series received near-universal acclaim for how incredibly well it translated Oda's distinct world into live-action, and Season 2 does not disappoint, featuring more wacky characters, wild settings, incredibly goofy action, emotional moments galore, and the same endearing crew fans have come to know and love. One Piece, Into the Grand Line is further proof that this Netflix hit is the greatest live-action adaptation currently on television. One Piece, Into the Grand Line adapts one of the manga's most important arcs. One Piece, Into the Grand Line picks up right where Season 1 ended, with Monkey D. Luffy and his newly assembled crew, a navigator Nami, Emily Rudd, First Mate Noah Zoro, Mackenyu, Cook Sanji, Taz Skylar, and marksman Usopp, Jacob Romero, as they get ready to enter the Grand Line. On their way, they make new acquaintances and find themselves pursued by the Marine Captain Smoker, Callum Kerr, and the mysterious organization Baroque Works, led by the elusive Mr. Zero, Joe Manganiello. Season 2 also mainly adapts 5 of the manga's main arcs: Logetown, Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, and Drum Island. Joining Season 2 are a plethora of new characters, most notably Miss Wednesday, Charithra Chandran, Mr. Nine, Daniel Lasker, Miss Valentine, Jazora Jaslin, Mr. 5, Camrus Johnson, Mr. 3, David Dastmalchian, Ms. Golden Week, Sophia Ann Caruso, and Miss All Sunday, Lara Abava, all members of Baroque Works. Golden Globe winner Katie Sagal plays Dr. Kira, Mark Herlick plays Dr. Hiryuk, Clive Russell plays Crocus, Rob Coletti plays Wapol, and Julia Raywald plays Tashigai. Reprising their roles from Season 1 are Vincent Regan as Monkey D. Garp, Jeff Ward as Buggy the Clown, Ilya as Aurilla 1/2 Paulino as Alvida, and Morgan Davis as Kobe. Michaela Hoover also joins the series as the voice of fan-favorite Tony Chopper. One Piece, Into the Grand Line expertly brings Oda's world to life. Season 1 of One Piece was lauded for how well it translated the manga and anime into live action. Season 2 continues that success and even surpasses it. From this point on, the series features some of the source material's wackier characters. Literally every member of Baroque Works looks like the escapee of a mental asylum, and the fact that Netflix's adaptation translates them so accurately into live action is nothing short of impressive. The key to this success begins with the show's casting. Iñaki plus Iñaki Godoy remains a perfect Luffy, bringing the charm and relentless, hopeful enthusiasm to keep this crew motivated. Luffy is one tricky protagonist. He's immature, unserious, frustrating, hilarious, and endlessly endearing. In short, he's a literal cartoon character brought to life, and it's a testament to Godoy's talent that Luffy never becomes annoying or tiresome. As for his crew, everyone is well acquainted with their role and plays it to perfection. The 5 actors have genuine chemistry together, no matter how the show pairs them, ensuring every scene they feature in is simply fantastic. Best known for her breakout role in Bridgerton Season 2, Charithra Chandran is a perfect addition to the One Piece cast. Without going into spoiler territory, Ms. Wednesday is a huge part of the season, and Chandran effortlessly fits into this world. Every member of Baroque Works is, well, Baroque. Jesslyn and Caruso are loathsome as Miss Valentine and Miss Golden Week, and Ibira is very well used as Miss All Sunday. If there's someone who steals the show, however, it's Dast Malkian as Mr. 3. Few actors have so much fun with such unhinged characters, and Dast Malkian is chewing scenery left and right. Special shout out to the familiar but incredibly underrated Mark Herlick, who delivers an Emmy-worthy performance as Dr. Hiryuki that's sure to break your heart. There's truly not one weak link in the One Piece cast, and it never ceases to amaze how the show managed to create such a faithful live-action version of such a fantastical world. We're talking about men in George Washington wigs that fire bullets when vocalizing, as if Quentin Tarantino adapted Hamilton. There are pirates with metal beards, talking reindeer, quarreling giants, and killer otters riding vultures. Nothing here should make sense or look good, but it somehow does, and that's not only impressive, it's outright exhilarating, and in many cases heartwarming. One Piece, Into the Grand Line features more and better action. One of the few criticisms aimed at One Piece Season 1 was how the action sequences were shortened or watered down. One Piece, Into the Grand Line corrects this by featuring more elaborate, more ruthless set pieces, at least one per episode. The best and most thrilling are the insanely long, Kill Bill evoking bar brawl featuring Zoro, the fight in Logtown, and the finale's most climactic battle. All these sequences are very well choreographed and exciting, evoking the classic swashbuckling adventures of yore. They're intense and kinetic, yet surprisingly easy to follow. There's very little shaky cam or needlessly fast editing, with the show instead opting for wide shots that make excellent use of the space to paint a full picture of the battleground. The series' world is rather unique. There's death, but very little blood. There's action, but the violence isn't extreme. That's another great strength of One Piece, Into the Grand Line. It's not only deeply enamored with its source material, but it has a profound understanding of what makes the story special. Everyone here understands the type of show they're making, and that enthusiasm is contagious. It practically leaps off the screen. At a time when many live-action adaptations seem to be embarrassed by their source material, One Piece is like a breath of fresh ocean air. It takes pride in Oda's work, embracing the manga's inherent absurdity and finding new, creative ways to showcase it. One Piece, Into the Grand Line struggles with some of its wackier characters. Almost every aspect of One Piece, Into the Grand Line is flawless, from the big, tactile sets that make this wild world seem actually real and lived into the eclectic costumes that look as if a child used Barbie clothing on a He-Man figurine. However, a world as inventive as the one Oda created, populated with incredible designs that defy logic, was always going to be difficult to replicate. The Netflix series' first major challenge was to depict Luffy's powers accurately, and it aced it. Season 2 even finds new and more inventive ways to use them, and Godoy's facial expressions really sell it. Wapol is also fully realized, and his metallic beard is a triumph of the makeup department. Indeed, whenever the sequence is short or fast-paced, the visual effects look pristine, sometimes better than big screen offerings. When the scenes go on longer, however, the issues become noticeable. Nowhere are these flaws more apparent than in two primarily CGI characters, Laboon the Whale and Tony Chopper. Laboon mostly looks great, but wider shots do a disservice to the actual sets by making the green screen incredibly obvious. Still, the Whale passes the CGI test, but the same can't be said for Chopper. The reindeer has far more expressions, it emotes just as much as any other character, and sometimes, the CGI simply can't keep up, especially considering Hoover is acting her heart out in the voice department. Chopper's transformations, achieved through a mix of CGI and practical effects, are also far less convincing. The CGI is by no means bad, it's just not on par with what the character demands. One Piece, Into the Grand Line is an overall triumph overall. One Piece, Into the Grand Line is a stellar continuation of the story. It expands the world, introduces deliriously fun characters, features non-stop action, and delivers an adventure with plenty of heart and full of hope, which is what Luffy would want. More importantly, it maintains the spirit of Eiichiro Oda's masterpiece, letting its freak flag fly and flaunting its colors with pride. One Piece has everything going for it to become one of Netflix's all-time best originals, and this new season is proof. Time will tell if the series can continue this streak with its already confirmed Season 3, which is set to adapt the Alabasta arc, but for now, it remains the best live-action adaptation on television, and the competition isn't even remotely close. 7. The search for the One Piece is heating up in more ways than one. 29 years after Luffy began his quest to become king of the pirates, One Piece creator Eiichiro Oda has finally written down what the One Piece actually is. Luffy, meanwhile, continues to sail the four blues in search of this treasure on screen, for 1100 plus episodes in the anime and a mere 16 in Netflix's live-action adaptation. Yet that's not to say the latter is less important, something proved by the show's superb second season. Upon its release in 2023, many declared this version to be a game-changer, breaking the live-action anime curse that befell Death Note and Cowboy Bebop on Netflix. And they were right to say it. For most fans watching, One Piece was the first anime adaptation to fully capture the essence of its source material, nailing key narrative arcs and character beats without rushing or stretching things out. Luffy style. The cast were just the right amount of silly, channeling the Saturday morning cartoon vibes of the original while avoiding the temptation to overplay it or dumb things down. In short, Season 1 defied all expectations, solidifying itself as one of Netflix's most beloved originals. This all means that One Piece Season 2 sails into view with a very different kind of pressure to contend with. One Piece no longer has to justify its own existence, but this second season has the difficult job of maintaining momentum and living up to the hype that wasn't felt so strongly the first time around. A grand adventure. So how do these 8 new episodes fare? The Season 2 premiere kicks off in explosive fashion, quite literally, when Miss All Sunday shows up in a burst of rosy pink petals, attacking Marines in the weirdest way possible. Able to replicate and regrow various body parts in other locations, the vice president of Baroque Works grotesquely pulls at her victims with new arms that generate out of their own bodies, punching and even shooting them with these freaky appendages. Longtime fans and newbies alike will get a kick, or punch, out of this bizarre opening, which demonstrates confidence in the madcap antics of this world without feeling any need to over-explain or ease us in. That's also true when we catch up with the Straw Hats as they sail towards Logtown. Their banter teasing Luffy's mantra about finding the One Piece to become king of the pirates, as if they've heard this spiel 1,000 times before. Comes from a place of love, immediately re-establishing their camaraderie as if they never left us. 2 seasons in, the chemistry, or nakana, is stronger than ever, not just between characters but between the actors too. Everyone feels even more confident in themselves this time around, more sure of who they are in the world they're building. Season 2 brings the Straw Hats to the Grand Line, where they come across new locations grand in scope yet still imbued with that same, signature One Piece weirdness. Early on, the prehistoric island of Little Garden is a perfect example of this. The wonky, yet charming, special effects that often cropped up in Season 1 feel more polished here, defying the often dull Netflix sheen that stories like this often fall victim to. You'll really believe it when Luffy catapults himself onto a giant whale with his stretchy arms, and you'll probably cry as that particular arc unfolds, too. The episodic nature of Oda's world-building makes Season 2 the rare show that actually feels like an episodic TV series, one you could watch just as happily on a weekly basis as you could all at once. Yet, with each new location, One Piece still threads in the wider arc concerning the evil Baroque Works organization, and Marines like Smoker, Callum Kerr, who are out to stop them. New villains pop up aplenty, each weirder, wackier, and often more stylish than the last. These Tarantino-style Kill Bill assassins, as co-showrunner Joe Trach describes them, don't just do bad, they look good, and that in itself is quite a feat. Explosive boogers, sticky velcro hair, and House of Wax-style shenanigans could slip into the realms of silly or even deranged, and they do at points, but, almost, always in ways that still make sense for the world. It helps that the stunt work feels more visceral this time, especially when it comes to Mackenyu's intricate sword work. Look out for one prolonged, brutal sequence in episode 3. Chop Shop. What could look like cosplay, especially when it comes to costume design, actually works remarkably well for the most part, and that's also true when the lore gets extra weird, like with the introduction of Miss Friday and Mr. 13. It's bold to faithfully render characters like this evil vulture, otter combo, which shouldn't work in live action but still do somehow regardless. Not every transition from page to screen succeeds quite as well, though. When Miss Wednesday, aka Nefertari Vivi, mesmerizes Luffy with her enchanting vertigo dance, the end result is just too silly. Fan favorite Tony Chopper similarly suffers when it comes to some of his transformations, although the effects used to bring his smaller form to life are essentially perfect in comparison. Everyone feels even more confident in themselves this time around, more sure of who they are in the world they're building. This isn't to say that Chopper and Vivi will disappoint, however. Among many impressive new additions to Season 2A including veteran performers Katie Sagal, as Dr. Kira, and Mark Herlick, as Dr. Hiroyuki, A-Star's Chopper's Michaela Hoover and Vivi's Charithra Chandran are the very best. Both are key to the emotional impact of these episodes, proving themselves to be just as vital as anyone in the returning cast. Get ready to fall in love with Chopper and Vivi, crying as you watch heartbreaking developments for both of them. And don't be surprised if you end up crying at how good the rest of the gang are, too. Emily Rudd continues to embody the heart of the ship as Nami. Mackenyu nails the dry humor bound up in Zoro's stoicism, and Usopp's pluckiness takes on new layers thanks to Jacob Romero Gibson. Sanji is a little more overlooked, although Taz Skylar gets a chance to shine in one particularly emotive scene towards the end. And as for the crew's fearless leader, Iñaki plus Iñaki Godoy's enthusiasm is matched only by Luffy's endless zeal for piracy, although his portrayal threatens to be a little one-note this time in comparison to the rest. By the end of Season 2, it might not feel like Luffy and the gang are much closer to finding the One Piece. In fact, zealous fans in real life will almost certainly beat them to it. But when it comes to capturing the strange, mesmerizing tone of Oda's world, treasure is already within our grasp. Some minor flaws aside, it's hard to imagine a better version of One Piece in live action. This is the rare adaptation that justifies its existence beyond animation, thanks to an extraordinary devotion to the source material and the means to make it happen. May this version's episode count hit triple and even quadruple digits like the beloved anime it follows, and continues to sail alongside. One Piece Season 2 is streaming now on Netflix. For a full, spoiler-filled breakdown of the season, check out our One Piece Season 2 ending explained, or for a glimpse at what's to come, dive into our One Piece Season 3 guide. With 10 years of online journalism experience, David has written about TV, film, and music for a wide range of publications including IndieWire, Paste, Empire, Digital Spy, Radio Times, Teen Vogue and more. He's spoken on numerous LGBTQ+ panels to discuss queer representation, and in 2020, he created Digital Spy's Rainbow Crew interview series, which celebrates queer talent on both sides of the camera via video content and long-form reads. Passions include animation, horror, comics, and LGBTQ+ storytelling, which is why David longs to see a Buffy-themed musical on RuPaul's Drag Race. One Piece Season 3 is on the way, and we already have a release window. One Piece Season 2 was recently released to another round of rave reviews from both critics and fans alike, and it introduced us to the extremely adorable Tony Chopper. Of course, what's next? Luffy and CO are headed to Alabasta, following the events of Season 2, and if you're confused, you can read all about it in our One Piece Season 2 Ending Explained Guide. We've also got a title and release window for Season 3, in addition to new cast announcements and some details on the story. Scroll on down for everything that you need to know about one of the best adaptations of the best anime series of all time. We've got all of the deets on the One Piece Season 3 release date, cast news, plot, and more. But beware, some minor spoilers are ahead, especially if you haven't seen the One Piece anime yet, so proceed with caution. One Piece Season 3 release window. One Piece Season 3, officially the Battle of Alabasta, is slated for a 2027 release. Netflix made the announcement less than 1 month after the release of One Piece Season 2. Given that there was a 3-year-long gap between Seasons 1 and 2, we're pretty surprised at how quickly the new season is coming. It makes sense though, given that production on the season began back in November 2025 after it was officially renewed in August. One Piece Season 3 story. Which chapters are being adapted? One Piece Season 3's story will largely be focused on the Alabasta arc, and we know that for a fact, given how the One Piece Season 2 ending sets this up, and wraps up the arc that is just before it, the Drum Island arc. That means we'll be seeing chapters 155 to at least 217 on our small screens, folks. The Alabasta arc centers around the Straw Hats finally reaching the kingdom of Alabasta to try and stop civil war, as well as defeat Baroque Works' leader, Mr. Crocodile, aka Mr. Zero. The Marines get involved once again. The Straw Hats will meet someone from Luffy's past. Ace fans rejoice, and Mr. Crocodile's true motives for targeting Alabasta get revealed. Basically, a lot happens. In fact, the Alabasta arc is one of One Piece's more chunky entries, as it covers 63 chapters of the manga and 39 episodes. For comparison, the Drum Island arc, which took 4 episodes to cover in Netflix's adaptation in Season 2, was only 25 chapters and 14 episodes. With this in mind, it's possible that Season 3 will cover only the Alabasta arc, assuming it only consists of 8 episodes like previous seasons. If we do get another arc at all, it will likely be the very quick Jaya arc, chapters 218-236, which basically lets us get to know the Straw Hats' future new crew member. No spoilers here, and also includes some setup for Blackbeard being the next big villain after Mr. Crocodile's time in the sun. It would be a great cliffhanger to end Season 3 on, and signal the start of the Sky Island saga for Season 4 as well. Co-showrunner Joe Trach told The Wrap in March 2026 the next season is going to be epic, adding, "It's why we split the story over 2 seasons. We're currently filming Season 3, which is the second part of the Alabasta story. We knew that arc is so beloved, it's so important, it's so complicated, that to try to compress it into one 8-episode season was always going to leave out some of the heart of it." He added, "The chance to split that up and to let the story really be about meeting Miss Wednesday, who turns out to be Vivi. We're learning about Baroque Works and this bigger plan this criminal organization has, and setting up a 3rd season, where we're going to get to Alabasta and fight this war. It was always a 2-season plan. We're lucky enough that we're getting to wrap up the story. There are moments in Season 3 that I feel in my heart would never have been possible on any other kind of TV show," Sanji actor Taz Skylar told The National after the release of Season 2. "I feel incredibly blessed to be a part of it. We definitely had a moment together where we were like, hey, holy cow, dude, I can't believe this is happening." We'll keep you posted as more formal updates head our way. In the meantime, if you want to get a head start by watching the anime, you can check out our guide on how to watch all of One Piece in order. One Piece Season 3 cast right now. The One Piece Season 3 cast is looking pretty stacked with the series' main stars, but we've also already had some cast announcements for new faces as well. New additions to the One Piece cast include Zolo Maridue +- as Portgas Diaz, aka the best character of all time, and Colaskola as Bon Clay. We expect to hear even more cast additions soon since the Alabasta arc has even more Baroque agents for us to meet. We'll keep you posted as and when new characters get confirmed, but for now, Here is the One Piece Season 3 cast list so far. Note that some character inclusions are based on what we know from the anime. We are still waiting for firm confirmations, though.